Hello, hello, hello. Sorry, we were having an interview again. This is not the first time that this happens. Oh my God. Shanna, thank you so much for pointing this out and that I was paying attention. Hi, everybody. Oh my God. Okay, are you ready to do a take two?
Sure.
And give it a try again. Oh boy. Welcome. We are on the second day of Agile Testing Days. Again with this problem that my microphone is muted. Shanna, can you please send a message if you can hear us? Thank you so much for pointing it out. Let me quickly make sure that we have audio. Testing, testing. We have audio. Okay. At the very least, and now we can hear. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shanna. You. Okay, take two. We have here our amigo Christoph STOCK. Did I say it well? I most probably am butchering it. And on top of that, now I'm nervous because I did this very good mistake. So our amigo Christoph came from Germany and comes with UBS, UBS. How is it over there?
In German, it's UBS Heiner.
UBS Heiner.
English, UBS Heiner.
UBS Heiner. And he comes here with some processes around test data management. Earlier, I was curious on what type of test data, input data, usable data, results, and output. And please, can you repeat a little bit what type of data do you specialize in?
Exactly. So when you thinking about testing, the first things this data that come to mind is obviously the input data, so the data you put into your application under test while executing the test. The simplest example is if you have an user interface test, what you type into your forms. And the second kind of data you may have is some kind of verification data. So you check against your application if that was stored or changed in your application, or the results shown in the user interface match some verification data. But there's a third kind of data, what we call test-based data. And that's what's in the persistent state of the application. So if you imagine you have some kind of user registration, that's an easy one because we have nothing in the application yet. We just click through the registration forms and expect there's a new user. But if you want to have a test that alters some information of that user, then we need to have some data inside the application before we start the test. In this simple case, we can maybe say, okay, let's just play the first test of user registration, and then we play the test of user altering the data. But as the application gets more complicated and you have a very complex business process around it, examples maybe insurances, banking, flight booking, something like that. So where a lot of things happening in the application rely on things happened before, maybe before 10 years, maybe before 20 years. Then this test-based data come into play. So you need the right data in your application to run the desired test with the desired results.
It's something that we were discussing while we were muted, where these types of test data that you need once inputs, once the comparison for the outputs, but what is in the system needed for you tester friends to be able to put together your automations or execute, even manual. There are some things that I was describing in performance testing and load testing especially. Our automations will go through some processes very quick and use, let's say, as you very well said, like a flight check-in. I cannot repeat the check-in process of a flight, and I may need a new flight confirmation number or reservation. And the process behind that to create is huge. It's very heavy, it's intensive, and many times, many organizations, what they do is to create an automation that will log in, book a flight, create all that, let the time pass until it's the check-in time. But with this type of processes, we can populate the system with a lot of flights and data. Let's say you are testing the checking luggage process. You even need to have checked in into the flight. So you need many data points in that status ready to do the luggage, right? Other examples that.
Yeah, right. So what here comes into play is what we also call test data management. So
Mm-hmm.
getting to know all those data points or test case data as an artifact or as some asset in your whole process. So you build up all those status of your application once, store it under a given name. You can share it between testers and tests, and also when playing this data into your application, you can also maybe fiddle some of the IDs or something like that. So you can have the same data multiple times. You can apply
Oh, that's
different
cool.
tests, or you can reapply the same data again and again, and can run the automated tests against the exactly same data. So you directly see if something has changed in the application. Because yesterday, for example, our check-in process was still working, and today with absolutely the same data, maybe altered the date.
But today it doesn't work.
One day it doesn't work. So there must
The
be
flight already departed, right? No, that's true
yeah,
translation.
that's an important point. But that's something you can handle in the data. So you just shift the from the from the virtual data, you shift the date by one day.
Mhm.
So again, today is check-in day, and you can test the process again and again and again, just in a very automated way. And that's all things you can do with test data management and knowing about what kind of data do you have in system.
Mm-hmm. It's yeah, you got me thinking because just moving one little detail, user one, user two, user three, and then you populate a decent amount. We were talking earlier as well about having names and weird fringe cases from the source data, like last names, umlauts, and things that you may want to have in that data. Because we often just think of putting, as I said, user one, user two, and login one, login two, or all these silly names that we come up with. I have populated with who are the people in the team for this data? Oh, Darth Vader and Donald Duck and silly things. But none of them have like those peculiar characters that we will see worldwide, and probably we have to test for them. And some of these longer names that won't fit into a parameter or a form. And we were talking about masking as well for security issues, right? You do some of those processes.
Sure. So as soon as you want to have more of those special cases, a good source is always to look at your production, because the production contains all the mess that ever happened, maybe to an failures application, or just because somebody entered something really silly you were never ever thinking about. And using this data in your tests is very valuable, but as well, you need to take care of private identifiable information, and you need to take care of compliance. Maybe there are some special information about your business you don't want to share with all your testers, or maybe external companies doing tests with this data. So there's a process of about planning how to mask this. So there are things you must mask, but as we already said, there's also things we may not ask because we will clean up the data too much to have meaningful tests. So I think
It's a
that's
sweet spot, hard to get in the middle, right?
yeah. So I think that's another long talk
Yeah.
to go into all the details, but I think it's something everybody should heard when talking about handling with test data, and especially using
Private data or
production as test data. Yeah.
that's and you just touched in some interesting detail. Do you enable production environments to be tested? Because testing in production is a thing. Everyone should be starting to look at it. Do you? Have you been in projects that are, or you pull it mostly from production into?
Typically not, because when we are on in a project, the goal is always we want to get rid of production testing, and the solution we see is pulling the production data somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
mask
The
it in
QA
a
environments and
put it to QA environments, and do all the kind of stuff you before thought need to be done in production now can be done somewhere in QA environments.
An interesting thing that, from the performance testing perspective, sometimes we see awesome results in the pre-prod environments because the data is kind of small and the queries run more efficiently. Do you do these processes of bringing enough data so that the databases are representative in size?
Yeah, we do two things when moving data. What we talked in the first part now is what we call test case data. So it's a single set of some rows from multiple tables put over to the QA environment. What we also do is mass copying data. So taking maybe the entire production and moving it to a performance test environment. If this is not suitable, so taking 10%, 20%, 30% of the production amount.
And
into-
multiply it inside, or?
Sometimes it's okay. You have to take a look at the data and what actually happens. If you can then calculate the impact on the production based on a smaller amount of data, or you have to just copy over something and multiply it. But multiplying it is not that easy in some cases, because you have to look at all the application, what the application is doing, and what does the data mean for the application. If you just have
It's not copy paste and
if you have just a bunch of user lists, it's very easy to duplicate. But insurance contracts with claims on them and complicated processes are not duplicated that easy.
Yeah, it's you just got me thinking on as well credit card numbers that have some algorithms to be able to be replicated or
Actually,
have to follow.
That's
the easy one.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, but I know of some others. Just giving an example.
Yep.
Where the system must accept it. We have like a social security number in Mexico that has a very specific pattern. Only letters here, only things here, cannot go from these ranges. I can't believe that you were born in 1800. So some of those numbers have some sort of validations, and it's interesting to populate. And I was asking that because at times production databases are huge, horribly huge. And to get a good idea of how would be the performance, it's, as you said, you can come with a subset and try to extrapolate, but sometimes when the data gets big enough, it's interesting. But it's great that you have that service and opportunity to kind of migrate as much volume as possible. And you mentioned some other challenges. What are the common challenges that you find out when you are trying to do this data preparations?
An important thing is when you want to transport this test case data, you need to know what tables belong to which part of the application, how they are connected. When you are in a bigger enterprise, the data spreads over multiple databases on different technology, coming from DB2 vSAM through the DB2 Oracle SQL Server and up to some cloud platform fancy edge case stuff. And all the data in those databases needs to be correctly related to each other. So I have some kind of end-to-end data on the data layer if I want to run more complicated end-to-end tests, or at least some integration tests on them. And that need to be modeled. So the challenge is as well to get all the people having the knowledge involved in the process. So it's not something one person should do for an enterprise corporation. We need to set up systems where everybody put in his knowledge, which is a small task for those who have the knowledge, because they just need to fill in a list of 20 tables and how they are related, and then putting this all together in a process that handles this.
Because often a situation that I have faced, the data may not have any heads or toes or any shape from anyone just watching it, but from someone that knows the business that the data belongs to. Like, yeah, this is from a contract, then connects to here, connects to that. Figuring some of those, because it follows also business rules, right? That's another one that can be a pain big time in my experience. Probably with your expertise, like, no, I can connect them, right?
Yeah, it's more a people thing than a technical thing.
Yeah.
You just need to find the one that knows, and typically he's really eager to explain it. And if you have
Yeah, that's great.
some easy way to configure this, then things starting play well together. So it's a community thing of your whole testing and development departments bringing this together.
It's and it's great because when you get with these challenges, and um, I'm great that super happy that you get that experience, that it flows and the people are collaborative. Sometimes it's like finding the treasure hidden in an island, and where is the X, and have to dig and ask. I'm sure you have walked into that here and there.
Sure, sure. So sometimes you also stuck and searching for things or just staring at the data, how it might be related. So so it's always some kind of adventure going through the history or the IT history of the corporation and finding a lot of interesting stuff. Um, but
It's like being a detective, right? And where were you when you were capturing this? Where did it went to? And what happened on February 29th on that year?
yeah,
I'm not that much joking, because you need to know some dates for the data to know and map it. Why
yeah,
can't you do the check-in process for a flight a day after? I mean, to you and me, it's kind of like, yeah, we know in flights you cannot check in after the flight departed. But for someone totally foreign, it would be like, why not? Oh, okay, but you need an
yeah,
explanation,
yeah.
right?
Right. You need somehow to understand the business behind the data. So it's people, tech, and business all together.
So in these descriptions, I'm super happy to give this because many people watching us, or organizations, do not know how to easily populate this data and get ways to test the system, and they generate scripts, automations, even worse, front-end automations to populate this data very slowly, and at times we need massive volumes. And what is the differentiator of UBS UBS, that you would say, what's your bread and butter, brot and butter?
Yeah. So what we have is a system, but the configuration is really spread into small, easy to understand parts you put into the system. And then we have a lot of automation and plugging things together
Hmm.
that you end up in a very easy data ordering process. So in the end of all, you might have some kind, we call it the data shop, where you have a web form where you either enter directly some entity IDs you want to copy, and then the tool goes through all the configurations, sees what data belongs there, and brings it over to the desired environment. Or you even can use the test data finder, where you put in some attributes of data you like to find. So sticking to our flight example, I'm searching someone flying from Chicago last year and was older than 50 years. And then you get an output of all the available test data for this, and you then can put it into your test system. And this automation and where we yeah the configuration matching the microservices architecture we are going to, and having small teams that are very specialists on parts, but they are putting together something greater. That's what we reflect with our tool, and what's what's also our vision. We want to have to support the agile processes or the agile teams doing corporate test data management.
That's really interesting, because you just got me thinking. If you populate the data in the system to be tested, you want those to be accessible also for the automations that are going to be testing the system. Like, hey, I inserted John Doe, or I don't know, Hans Schultz. I need to have that information in my automations in an easy way to loop back and work it, right?
True,
You
true.
offer this.
All the thing I've told about the data shop, which you can do manually. Of course, you can do also automatically. Just use the tool's REST API, trigger test provisioning process. It will give you back the ID or the name of what was placed into the system, and then you can run your automated tests based on this.
That's an awesome side effect that you have these APIs and ways, because most of our automation tools will just easily call an API, store the value, and use it later. Is there a way, or do you have in this API a way to know that this data has been used? Again, I've already did the check-in process for this flight. I cannot do it again on another test run.
Yeah, we have what we call a test data reservation.
Mhm.
So for each entity, we have a classification term which uniquely identifies the different entities. So might be a person flying, might be an airport, might be a flight. Those are all our classification terms, and the reservation system takes care of registering every entity copied to an environment. So you cannot override this again as long as it's used in a test. And you also have a protocol what test data might be used and cannot be used anymore for a test. So
That's super interesting. How is this API, let's say, how to process? I am a performance test and load tester, and I'm thinking if I want to use your API for pulling data on a live load test, can I keep pulling it often to do some iterations and mark it?
with the API, you cannot directly pull the data.
Okay.
So it will always do
Pre-populate?
populate something, and through the API you will get the information that it's done. So
It's like a data dump. I'll have
exactly,
it.
some file or some database itself is then populated. You can get a trigger from the API and can start whatever process afterwards that accesses then the data that was brought in by the product.
What formats do you dump the data into? Or what are the most popular? Because I can think of some that I would like to use.
Yeah, most customers use either CSV formats or directly populate a database. So
Any option for JSON?
it's also possible to customize it that way.
That's, yeah, because some of the processes and the automations, K6 and some others that we're working with, like JSON. So it's better structure. It gives you a little bit more freedom.
Yeah.
But that's great. That's great information. I think we already ate some time at the beginning with the microphone thing. Few more words, more things. Auf Deutsch auch. Möchtest du etwas sagen zu Ihrer Freundin? Ja, bist home? At home? Zu Hause.
Ja, genau. Ja, auch so nochmal auf Deutsch. Toll, dass ich hier sein konnte. Vielen Dank für das Interview.
Ja, genau.
Genau. Allen zu Hause.
Hallo.
Komm bald wieder. Genau.
Grüße bis Deutschland.
Genau. Vielleicht ganz speziell für meine Töchter, Marit Almer. Jetzt bin ich auch bei YouTube.
Great.
So they really like to watch YouTube and.
Oh, that's gonna be great. Send it to them. Yeah. Oh my God, that's gonna be so cute. Other means on which everyone watching that has data issues can reach out to you or learn more about UVS.
Yeah, sure. So if you have any questions, are interested in some more facts about the product, just head over to our website, fill the contact form, or I don't know, maybe you can link some of my contacts, so you can come into contact directly to me.
And the website is
ubs-heiner.com.
ubs-heimer or dash
Heiner.com.
HAINER.com. Take a look, get in touch, look for Christoph as well. Are you on LinkedIn or other?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, so that's maybe the easiest way to reach me.
Yeah, nowadays it's like the point of contact for everything. All right, if you have any data needs for your testing efforts, you know now who to call. Data busters. No, I'm kidding. Thank you very much, Christoph. And I know that you're going back home. Gute Reise zurück Deutschland. Und vielen Dank für come and meet me on Stream Machen. I'm trying. It's such a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate to be here.
Super happy to having had this opportunity. It's been a while since I haven't talked about data. Everyone, we're going to be streaming today. I have a few more friends around here that will be coming, and let's see who else we can get. The day is just starting. It's the second day, last day, and we'll be streaming back soon with microphones on. I promise. No more issues. I'll edit this video later to remove the muted sound. So see you later. Thank you very much. And this is Agile Testing Days from Chicago. We'll be back. Adios. Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye.